Queensland farming lobby group AgForce recently launched legal action to stop a mining giant from pumping carbon into the Great Artesian Basin. The scheme would see carbon dioxide emitted by a coal-fired power station in southern Queensland injected into the basin as part of a storage trial. So for more, we're joined live by Mike Guerin, who's AgForce's CEO. Mike, thanks for your company today. What's at stake here?
The Great Artesian Basin, our way of life, food security that we've taken for generations, the very viability of hundreds of communities across regional Australia. It's not an exaggeration to say there's a lot on the line, and it's very important that we protect one of the largest pristine water resources in the world, the Great Artesian Basin. That's what's on the line.
You're now in court. How on earth did it get to this?
It should never have got to this, and we're at court having exhausted all other options. So we have a proposal to pump industrial waste into a water resource that's used by agriculture, that's used by community, that's used by the environment, and relied on all of those things. We're at a point where Glencore are about to get permission to start a project that will pump that industrial waste into that Great Artesian Basin. We've tried all of the usual conversations, all the usual lobbying, and what we don't understand is why something is so obvious to us, it appears to be ignored by all sides of politics. So we're in court having exhausted all other options. We don't want to be there. We asked Minister Plibersek to draw it back in, which she can do. She has the power to do under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. The Minister's chosen not to do that. We're in court because we've been left with no other options.
If I recall correctly, this site was identified under a few governments ago, and then the coalition were happy for it to go ahead, or didn't try to change it. So isn't this something which is, I guess, from your perspective, on all of those governments from both sides?
The silence from most sides of politics is staggering. The silence from both major parties beggars belief in our view. One of the really important things to note, and in the Weekend Australian last weekend, Glencore got it wrong, is that industry and community and AgForce are not against CCS technology. We simply want to protect the Great Artesian Basin. You're right, both colours of government seem to support this project at a federal level. The previous government indeed were in power when the final approval was put through. The current government seem unable or unwilling to bring it back in for reconsideration, albeit they have all the evidence they need. We have in Australia the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, an act of Parliament and the federal Parliament designed to protect matters of national environmental significance. We have a water resource some 130,000 times the size of Sydney Harbour, across 4 states and territories, relied on by so much. Yet we appear to be prepared to provide the opportunity for an offshore mining giant to pump industrial waste in there. It beggars belief to us.
Obviously, Glencore say it's just like putting, I guess, the same amount as carbon as you'd have in a soft drink. Do they have a leg to stand on there?
I'm no scientist, but there's a lot of scientific evidence which says we need to do more work. We need to use a precautionary principle as we do on environmental matters more broadly. If there is reasonable doubt, let's do some more work to be comfortable and confident in what we're doing. If we do damage the Great Artesian Basin, it's not reversible, a lot of the scientific work tells us. But to have a proposal with this much, with the significance of ramifications that this one has on paper, run through a consideration at the federal level in under 3 weeks in February 2022, when we were all trying to take a holiday, beggars belief and tells us there was not a strong process applied to thinking about it from an environmental perspective and protecting of, in this case, the Great Artesian Basin. So if Minister Plibersek would draw it back in for reconsideration, we're asking that that reconsideration includes all the good science you refer to, thinks about the precautionary principle in the way we do with the Great Barrier Reef or other wonders of natural resources, and provides a full, proper consideration to that. And you can't tell us that you can do that in 3 weeks when most of us are trying to get a holiday.
Thank you, Mike Guerin, for your time on BeefTV.
Thank you.
Well, guys, we are now off to a break on the other side. All the action as Beef Australia kicks off for another year.